Hey guys, this is Mrs. Breasty. We're going to go over our protein notes. So you can follow along with the note guide if you want, but that's not a required assignment, but it could help you with answering the questions, but kind of optional to you guys. So here we go. Same format. You guys probably know this by now. The red is all the key point information that's on that note sheet. These notes do have a lot of information, so if you are following along, you'll want to write a little bit smaller than maybe you have in the past. Here we go. So protein foods, there's like two categories that proteins fall into. So you've got your animal sources, so things like your beef, your chicken, your pork, seafood, eggs, because it's a byproduct of an animal. Animal source proteins all come from animals, and they're very, very high in proteins, and they actually are considered our complete proteins. Then we have plant-based proteins. Beans and peas are kind of the highest concentration of proteins for our plant-based ones. And you also have nuts and seeds, so like almonds and peanut butters, any nut butters are also high in protein, but they're called our incomplete proteins. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means, complete versus incomplete. But just think animal, plant. So there's two different sources that these come from. So what we're going to look at is on the back of your notes, like in the packet, if you brought that home, or on the handout that I've put up on Google Classroom, there's a food chain that we're going to look at. And this is different than like thinking about like habitats and food chains. This is more about like how the modern human food chain looks and where proteins fall into that. So if you're following along with the notes, you'll want to go to that image. Otherwise, just follow along with these slides. So here's the overview. We've got this whole pathway of starting at the sun and ending up at human beings. And our food chain starts with solar energy. I should say most food chains all start with solar energy. Without having the sun kind of coming down onto the earth, there's no energy going towards our producers. So the producers are going to be kind of like tier one of this food chain. And producers take energy from the sun and they make their own food. So these are plants. So anything that is a grass or trees or vegetables, fruits, if it's growing out of the ground as like a ground crop or like a fruit tree crop, you need to have solar energy in order for that whole photosynthesis and then the germination and the creation of all the fruits and vegetables and things like that. So solar energy goes to our producers, which make the hay or the grass that the cows eat, that give the grains for our poultry and things like that. So it starts all with those producers taking that solar energy and then making it into a food source. From there, you have primary consumers. I've got a bug as our example. Some cultures do eat bugs as a food source. Here in the United States, we are not big on bug eating, but we eat things that eat bugs. So a primary consumer is that these eat producers, so they eat the plants. So examples are cows, goats, sheep, pigs. All of those animals are considered a primary consumer because they're eating all of the green stuff, right? You see cows in their pasture is nice green grass. They're eating that, and that's what they're taking. Solar energy to the producer. They're the primary consumer. So they're kind of at the lower level of the food chain. Then you go to a secondary consumer. This is animals that eat other animals. So they eat like these are small carnivores or even omnivores. Omnivores eat plants and animals. So those examples are chicken, fish, turkeys, and ducks. So a lot of like our poultry are considered secondary consumers. Think about a fish, either in a lake, in a river, in an ocean. They will eat other small bugs. They'll eat leeches, they'll eat worms, they'll eat little tiny fish. So they're secondary consumers because they're eating some animal-based foods, right? Carnivore. And they're also eating things like algae. Or if you have a chicken, like, and you've ever seen chickens in a backyard, like they're going to be eating all kinds of like vegetables and grains and like scraps like that. They'll eat a little bit of grass, but they'll also see like a juicy little worm and they'll go over and they'll eat that. So they're eating a little bit of everything in that category. Then we have a tertiary consumer, so third level consumer. This person or this tier eats secondary consumers, right? They also eat primary consumers and they also eat producers. So they're basically eating everything coming down that food chain. They're considered a large carnivore, right? If you put this like in like Lion King type of food chain, right? Simba was at the top, a lion. us humans aren't strictly just carnivores, okay? We eat a lot of different things. So what you're gonna see is kind of like three main or most popular type of diets that humans have. So humans are mostly omnivores. So that means that we eat a little bit of plants and animals. I'd say that's probably the majority of what people eat. Some humans, we don't call them herbivores. Instead, we call them vegetarians, right? But an herbivore, if you were an animal, is basically the same thing as a vegetarian. You're only eating those producers, those plant products. The difference with vegetarians is that not only are they eating plant products like your fruits and vegetables, they're in their grains, but they're also going to eat some of the animal byproducts, cheese, milk, yogurt, things like that. We do have in our culture humans that call themselves vegan. And a vegan diet is where you only have your plants and vegetables, right? Your veggies and your fruits and your grains. You don't eat any animal byproducts. So that's no cheese, that's no eggs, no milk. I even have friends who are vegans that don't even have honey because it's an animal byproduct. There's reasons why people choose to be vegan. There's reasons why they choose to be vegetarian. There's reasons why we choose to be omnivores. It's just kind of based on personal preference, beliefs, things like that. So that's kind of where we stand in all of this, okay? We tend to eat a variety of different things. So why are proteins so important for our bodies? The nutrients that come in proteins. Proteins are very high in B vitamins. They help the body release energy. It's a vital role in the nervous system and in the formation of red blood cells to help build your body tissues. Remember, as a teen, you're growing. So having B vitamins is really important because it's helping to build all those body tissues that are growing as your body continues to grow. We also need iron, and proteins contain a lot of iron, especially our animal-based proteins, and that's used to carry oxygen through our blood. Zinc, which is necessary for biochemical reactions and helps the immune system function properly. Right now, it's really important that we're all having healthy immune systems, right? So getting plenty of zinc helps there. And then magnesium is used in building bones and releasing energy from your muscles. So proteins are filled with a lot of vitamins and minerals that go into a lot of body kind of processes and functions. So how much protein do you need daily? Depending on your age, you're going to see that it goes like from 5 ounces all the way to 6.5 ounces per day. So write down whatever applies to you. Again, thinking of proteins in ounces is a little hard to imagine. It's not as easy as like cups. So we're going to break it down a little bit. So pick 3 that you would actually eat of these different serving sizes. So 1 egg equals 1 ounce. So if I'm allowed to have 5 ounces of protein a day, if I have 2 eggs in the morning, I only have 3 ounces left to fill my day with, okay? 1 tablespoon of a nut butter, so peanut butter, almond butter, cashew butter, equals 1 ounce. 24 almonds, if you were to count them out, right, would be 1 ounce. 1/4 cup of cooked beans equals 1 ounce. And I don't know where your relationship with beans stands, but I love them. So if I'm making a burrito or nachos or anything like that, like I'm like definitely like a 1/2 cup of beans, if not more. 2 tablespoons of hummus, if you like your hummus. 2 tablespoons is not a whole lot. That equals 1 ounce. 3 ounces of chicken breast. So again, what does 3 ounces look like? It's a deck of cards. And depending on where you shop or where you get your chicken from, sometimes those chicken breasts can be huge, like the size of your face big, right? Not like a deck of cards size. So knowing how much you're eating will tell you how many ounces that you're getting. Hamburger patty, depends on the size of it, but it's usually 2 to 3 ounces there. And then like a can of tuna fish is roughly 3 to 4 ounces if you ate like all of it that was coming in that can. All right. So tips for protein foods. You want to go lean, right? What lean means is that it doesn't contain a lot of saturated fats. What we learned talking about dairy is how saturated fats, or fats that come from animal products, are harder on our body. So if you're getting things like beef that are like steaks or roasts or like top sirloin, those tend to have more fat than some of the lean ground beefs. And what ground beef will do is it will give you a percentage. So I've given the example of 92% lean versus like 8% fat. You can buy how much fat you want in that ground beef. I would say most restaurants that sell hamburgers are more like an 80-20. The more fat that's in that ground beef, like the juicier the hamburger. So when we tend to eat out, it tends to have more fat content in it. Pork, like pork loin and tenderloin, those tend to be a leaner version than say like bacon that you would get from a pig, right? When we all love bacon, or Some of you must love bacon, but you can see the fat that's on there. Very little meat, but more fat. Chicken. Going skinless is leaner. Chicken or turkey breast are the leanest part. So if you think about Thanksgiving and you're cutting into that turkey, if someone's ever asked, like, who wants the white meat? Who wants the dark meat? The white meat of any like chicken or turkey is less in fat than the dark meat. So like the drumstick and the wings, those have a higher content of fat. Just based on where they are in the bird, that's where the fat goes into those muscles. Choose turkey or chicken breast when like making a sandwich. Roast beef and ham, those are all better than like a bologna or salami. If you ever look at like a slice of salami, you'll see the little white dots. Those little white dots are basically like little globules of fat, right? So you can visibly see the fat in a salami, where in the chicken breast it's much neater. Okay. Tips for protein foods. Not only do you want them to be lean, you want them to have like a variety of different options when you're eating proteins. So seafood is recommended that we eat it at least twice a week. And when I say seafood, it could also be like local fish. So like trout is really common here. The reason being is that fish have omega-3 fatty acids, which are really good for like our brain and nervous system. So getting your fish intake at least twice a week is what's recommended. I know that I'm guilty in that I don't nearly get that much. But like salmon, trout, herring are all high in omega-3 fatty acids. Choose beans, peas, or soy products as a main dish. So there's a lot of ways that you can still get protein that doesn't require having an animal or an animal byproduct. So it says pick one that you would eat that sounds kind of yummy. You could do chili that doesn't have any meat in it, but you have like maybe 3 different types of beans, like a pinto, a kidney, and like a black bean, right? You could do split pea, lentil, or white bean soups. You could do baked beans. You could do a black bean enchilada and put all the cheese and all the other yummy stuff that you put in your enchiladas. And then there's also veggie burgers. So veggie burgers are a combination of plant-based proteins. And maybe you've even heard of like Impossible or like Beyond Burgers, where that's like a new kind of animal replacement of like a hamburger patty. But what you're kind of getting at is that in proteins, animal-based ones are called complete proteins because they contain all the amino acids that our bodies are lacking to make our body tissues and like our muscles. Incomplete proteins means that they're lacking some of those amino acids, but if you eat them in combination, those plant proteins, you can mimic a complete protein and your body will get everything that it needs. So if you are a vegetarian, vegan, or on a diet that isn't incorporating animal products, you'll want to make sure you're getting enough of those incomplete proteins in combination to mimic a complete protein for your body. All right, tips for protein foods. Choose unsalted nuts as a snack, put them on salads or in main dishes. Again, it says pick one that you would eat. That could help replace any meat or poultry that you might put on a salad. Use pine nuts in a pesto sauce for pasta. You could add slivered almonds to steamed vegetables to add some protein. You could add toasted peanuts or cashews to a stir fry instead of having a meat product. You can even throw tofu in there. Sprinkle a few nuts on top of like low-fat ice cream or frozen yogurt. Again, I'm not a big fan of low-fat ice cream. I would rather eat the whole-fat ice cream, but you could add nuts on there to give it some protein. Add walnuts or pecans to a green salad instead of cheese or any kind of meat to your salad. All right, so what to look for on a food label when you are getting your protein foods is you want to check for, we mentioned this already, saturated fats, trans fats, the cholesterol, and sodium. Sodium is salt that contains in that meat. Processed meats such as ham, sausages, like hot dogs, deli meats have a lot of added sodium. That's what keeps them from going bad. So you want to check the ingredient and nutrition facts on the label to limit your sodium intake. Too much sodium is not great for our body. It can start giving issues in our kidneys and leading to like kidney stones. So eating fresh turkey, chicken, or pork that have been enhanced with salt-containing solution also have added sodium. So you want to check the product label for statements such as self-basting or contains up to blank % of sodium. Then that means that they had a lot of added salt to them. And another thing to look for is lower fat versions of many processed meats are available. So look on the nutrition labels to choose products with less fat and saturated fats than other ones. All right, keep it safe to eat. This is where you want to be thinking about like our 4 C's that we learned from our video when we did safety and sanitation. is anytime you're cooking with a protein, you want to make sure that you're being as contained about it as possible. So separate raw, cooked, and ready-to-eat foods in your refrigerator. Wash your cutting boards, knives, and utensils and counters in hot soapy water or sanitize with a sanitizing spray after you've handled raw meat. Store your raw meat, poultry, and seafood in the bottom of the refrigerator. So then that's that containment that if it were to dribble, it would be at the bottom and not pass through like your vegetables and fruits. Cook foods to a safe temperature using a meat thermometer. Those are really handy for just knowing if the internal temperature is high enough to cook it. Most thermometers will tell you, like if you're cooking a hamburger or you're cooking chicken breast, like what temperature to bring it to. But all of them are going to say 140 or higher. Because remember, that's our danger zone. Once it gets to 140, you start killing off bacteria. Plan ahead and defrost meat properly in either the fridge or the microwave. That's something that we talked about during safety and sanitation. You don't want to leave them on the counter all day long. You don't want to put them in a bowl of water. It's either in the fridge for a slow defrost or like in the microwave if you need it a little faster. And avoid eating foods with raw or partially cooked eggs. So things like cookie dough, any cake batter, because those eggs, there's not guarantee that they're going to make you sick, but if they contain salmonella or any other type of foodborne bacteria or illness, they can make you feel really sick. So being aware of those foods. All right, here's your summary. So write down what it is that you learned about proteins. Hopefully it was something new. We are going to be doing 2 labs for this. Those are one of those options that you have. We're going to be doing a non-meat-based protein lab and then one that does incorporate meat. So keep your eye out for those. Thanks, guys.